This cute little cane toad says, "Hello children, please subscribe to Cool Critters on YouTube." In all seriousness, no, this is a pretty bad invasive species, and if you catch one, please don't release it back into the wild. Right here is another destructive invasive frog species that if you catch, you should not release into the wild again. This is a Cuban tree frog. These guys not only heavily outcompete native tree frog species like green and squirrel tree frogs, but sometimes will even actually eat smaller native tree frog species as well. Quite possibly the cutest bite of all time has to go to this tropical house gecko right here, which despite it also being an invasive species, is not that bad of a problem, as the only other species with their niche that they outcompete are other invasive gecko species. You can see how fast, smooth, and squirmy they are. They're not actually slippery, but they can be very hard to keep track of, and because of their smooth skin, they could also be hard to catch. Now that I finally got them again, closer to the camera, you could see the distinctive patternings that can help you identify tropical house gecko. Their skin is moderately bumpy, not as bumpy as the Mediterranean house gecko, but they also have a distinctive chevroning pattern, those triangular shaped dark patches on the back. These guys range anything from browns to grays to pinks, sometimes even white, but except in some very pale individuals, you'll always see that dark marking on the back. This guy just does not want to come off my hand. So unfortunately I did not have any of the cameras running on this catch right here, but this is one of my best catches I've ever made. This brown basilisk that was resting in a tree at nighttime. The lizard almost got away right when I touched it, but without hurting it, I was able to still keep it under my control, and you can see it's finally calmed down now with its mouth open. It did scratch and bite me, and I did bleed, but it was definitely worth it for this catch. These guys are also invasive. I'm seeing a pattern here. The Florida herps, but they're also not very much a problem. They're pretty easily identified by the patterning as well as that crest on the head and the overall very streamlined aerodynamic shape, the long legs with long back toes. That helps them run very fast on their back two legs on both land and water. Overall, an interesting species and a very exciting catch. Here's a picture I took of my hand right after the catch, but as I said earlier, it was definitely worth it. Listen. There we go. This is actually just about as big as greenhouse frogs will get. This is probably the largest greenhouse frog I've ever seen. This is huge for a greenhouse frog, and that's not saying much because this is an absolutely tiny frog. One of the best ways to identify greenhouse frogs is that line in between the eyes. You see that dark line in between the eyes? There. Really cute. That's a frog. Got it. Finally, after a while of trying, I finally was able to catch a southern leopard frog with this net. This individual looks pretty small, but still, a leopard frog is a leopard frog. Frogs are very delicate animals though, so I don't suggest catching them with a net unless you have experience catching other things with a net. But as you can see, this individual is very calm as I take it out of the net. It's just resting in my hands right now, allowing you to see the pretty distinctive southern leopard frog facial shape as well as patterning that I'll explain later when we find a larger and hopefully more patterned one. Just take a look at this pattern under the legs though, the beautiful yellow color. Well, that's a big chunker right there. That again? Yep, got another one. This guy's a little bit big. This guy's definitely bigger. This guy's slightly bigger than the last one. Slightly browner looking. They're actually a pretty variable species. Some southern leopard frogs can be very green, almost all green. And then some are just this brown color. But they have a very consistent pattern. You see they have two bright yellowish stripes, one on each side running behind the eye. Those black spots. And a very long snout for a frog, if you can see from the side view. And you can see that leopard pattern on the legs. And underneath,